Hello and welcome to CommsCast, the reputation podcast powered by Adfactors PR, here on Mediabrief.com. I am Christina Dsouza Lasrado, Group Head of the Integrated Healthcare Practice at Adfactors PR. Today, we have someone really special with us, comes with a high amount of energy, continuous intent to learn, and a lot of curiosity. Proof of the pudding? He had a 2-day trek and he came in late last night and flew down from Bangalore to Mumbai early this morning. Well, here is introducing Mr. Srikanth Ayyappan, Senior Director, Strategy and Marketing at Parexel. Srikanth, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christina. It's always fun to be here.
Let me add to this. Srikanth also is at the peak of his career. In the last couple of years, he's bagged several awards for leading strategy and communications at Parexel, ranging from ET Kaleido and many others. In fact, congratulations, Srikanth, for making it to the finalists of the Sabre Asia Pacific 2025. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
And I'm absolutely delighted to have you here.
Same here, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Great. So, Srikanth, and all of you listening today we are going to dive into something which is about marketing and communications in a very highly regulated sector. So those of you who are actually practicing this, do give it a listen. So Srikanth, let's do this a little differently. Today, I'm going to set timelines with you. So you have 60 seconds to describe who you are and what you do in your career to the audiences and listeners here. So start.
Wow, 60 seconds is a tough ask, Christina, but let me try, give it my best shot. I'm Srikanth Ayyappan. My career's journey has been filled with curiosity, resilience, and an opportunity to work with some great people. I've spent over a decade working in marketing and strategy across technology and life sciences.
Complex sectors.
Absolutely. What I'm really passionate about is the simple idea of breaking complex idea into something that is easily consumable. Well, Christina, along the way, I've been lucky to grow with global companies, lead teams and projects, which has taught me some crucial stuff like curiosity, innovation, and more so collaboration. Ultimately, I'm passionate about making my work matter and applying my skills that I've learned over a period of time to create lasting impact.
Oh, Srikanth, so you do perform well under pressure. This was just me actually giving you the experience of what the agency faces, since you almost always worked only on client side.
Now I get it.
So now with that, it brings me to my next question, actually the first question of this show, which is, well, you've moved across different sectors in the marketing function. So you've moved from marketing emerging technologies to analytical instruments. And in fact, most recently at Parexel, you've been strategizing communications for this firm.
Yep.
Okay. What really sparked these leads and what, according to you, was one of your steepest curve?
Absolutely. I think for me, working across industry really made a lot of sense. It brought a lot of depth in my understanding, also my expertise, which I think is valuable across industry. And I believe personally that marketing is an industry agnostic role. So as long as you learn a service or product or a solution, you probably can fit in right. I was working in IBM a long back ago. I think I was very curious, very excited about emerging tech like AI, cloud, machine learning. The possibilities were endless. And then came the opportunity to work with Agilent, which is a completely different industry. And I started marketing analytical instruments and services there. But at some point, I was craving for some kind of change. And, I wanted to work for an industry where I could make a tangible impact. Parexel's mission really resonated with me. And I took a leap of faith and I never looked back. It was an incredible journey where you could really see that kind of impact based on your communication, your marketing efforts that was translating into something that was meaningful and purposeful.
Wow. Okay. And tell me, in all of this, what would you say was your steepest curve?
Well, Christina, it's all about breaking down complex ideas into something more simple, right? For instance, working on emerging tech or lab workflow, or for that matter, in the intricacies of clinical trials.
In fact, you've given me my next question just by the words you used. Sectors in which you've worked are really complex. So they're not only complex, they have specific nuances. And with those nuances come regulatory layers.
Yeah.
Now, amidst all of this, when you're building your communication strategy, what really keeps you anchored apart from us, of course?
That's a brilliant question. I think designing a communication strategy, sometimes people think it's very complex, but I think at a very human level, it is a lot simpler as long as you can keep your story authentic, with clarity, delivered with precision in a highly regulated industry, which is highly complex for people outside. You can still deliver your communication messaging to the point. Let me take an example, Christina. For example, when you work in a industry which is highly regulated, compliance is of utmost priority, right? But we take it on stride as much as we have to work with compliance and regulatory team at the first instance to make sure while you develop a content, it's reviewed just to ensure that what message that we want to convey is also compliant, right? So within the given boundaries where we can use our creative liberty, we also work with compliance just to make sure that all the information that we work and deliver through our messaging vehicles is transferred to the ultimate consumer, who can be a caregiver, a patient, or even a client for that matter, is trustworthy. And communication is just about that. Communication for me at the outset is just about delivering a clear, a consistent, and a transparent message. And for instance, we leverage PR partners like you to take that message to a wider audience. It's all about keeping it consistent again and again and build the trust over a period of time.
Absolutely, Srikanth. Actually, when you say compliant, it makes it sound like the industry is absolutely booming. But I know you've done some great work in this space. So which brings me to the next question. In the whole B2B arena, in the B2B space that all of us are in, working in, accuracy is important because you're dealing with experts. They know their stuff. So while you're looking at accuracy, at the end of the day, especially in the clinical trials and clinical research space, it's about the patient. So there also has to be a very high level of relatability. Now, how do you fuse credibility and empathy in crafting your stories? What's your take?
Well, wow, that's a brilliant question. Credibility is about delivering communications, messaging, keeping evidence-based. And for me, empathy is about putting yourself in the shoes of a patient, caregiver, or that matter, a researcher.
True.
For me, effective storytelling is keeping the human element intact, right? Designing the conversation around that human. Look, I think in any industry, when you tailor a message to whoever the audience is, don't forget that person at the end of the day is a human being, right? Be it a complex idea, be it a complex narrative, how do you make it more subtle, more simpler, more consumable is really the cornerstone of how you transfer the knowledge, the communication that you have built in a very engaging message format using any of the channels that you have is really the key. For instance, we work with a lot of caregivers, patient advocates for that matter, right? And they really matter a lot. I think infusing their ideas, their priorities, how a particular protocol has to be designed. A great example that I want to talk about is the work that our people do, right? People who work behind the scenes so tirelessly. You know, it's people with a lot of empathy for a cause that is really meaningful. So that makes a lot of sense for people to read, see, and consume rather than something that is very complex and probably unbreakable.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, it is about the patient and understanding people who work with you at Parexel, plus who you are working for or creating these molecules for that can give them hope. That's what it is about.
Absolutely.
Now, despite it being B2B, like you said, it is all about human beings, whether you're dealing with customers, whether you're dealing with researchers or patients, doctors, and so on and so forth. So with that, since we were talking about human beings, let's talk about something which is more in the AI generation. Okay. Now, I want to see how it applies to you. Now, when we're talking about generative AI, I'm sure a lot of your work or the approaches to it have changed. Now, despite all this evolution and despite these changes, I'd like to know, is there any area where human intervention is still indispensable?
Well, Christina, I think today everybody is talking about Gen AI, generative AI, and I think it is a super tool that is made available for people to improve their productivity. For example, in my case, I would use AI, which is an assistant, but for me, I think it works as a super efficient assistant, not just in helping me draft an email, but also work on certain presentations, certain communications, drafting certain messaging as well. But I would consider AI to be a tool, an assistant, which is helping me enhance my productivity. You don't have to completely rely on AI because you still can't, because that AI tool in itself wouldn't understand the nuance of the human emotions. So use AI as part of your communication, definitely. I don't think there is any harm in using it, no doubts about it. But don't make AI compel you to just do a control C, control V.
So you do believe then that human judgment is critical even now and it's indispensable?
Absolutely. And it is going to be the same throughout. AI is not going to take over your creativity, your imaginations, the visuals that you get, but optimize your thought process, leverage AI just to ensure that what you do is done in a much faster, much efficient way.
Yeah. And in fact, just a matter of coincidence, yesterday I was watching something on Instagram and they came about the reel which talked about how Apple did this study which figured out that AI is not really a reasoning tool. It just gathers the information and figures out the trend and responds it.
Absolutely.
So you're right. Reasoning is still very much human.
Absolutely. And I think I'll give you a very classic example of where I come from Bangalore, right? And I once used the AI assistant just to ask a very fundamental question, and it's about traffic, right? So I asked AI if it can give me a trend of which days are the best to go to office on a particular day in the Bangalore traffic. And based on thousands of data points, the research and analysis that the AI tool did, it gave me certain days that are very good for certain reasons that you can take your vehicle out and go to office. So probably that's the way you should use AI. But again, use AI tool to that point, but use your imagination, right? For that instance, on that particular day, if the traffic gods are not in a favorable mood, you might be stuck on the roads for hours. AI can't be doing everything for you, and you can't be blaming AI just because it gave you a recommendation. So use AI in whatever capacity that helps you, fasten your decision making, help you improve your speed of going to market, speed of taking a particular message faster to the consumers. But don't always rely just on AI as your fundamental source.
Absolutely, like an assistant, but not the one who's making the decisions.
Yeah, don't let AI take over your life.
Well, Srikanth, like you clearly said, AI is not yet going to be taking over the world. We're still dealing with people. We're still dealing with employees. So my next question is about reputation. Yeah. Now, every employee is responsible for and can impact, whether positively or negatively, the reputation of a firm. So you, as the head of communications and marketing, what do you think a person like you or a role like yours can do in tandem with the CEO and the HR head of the company to make the entire company more reputation oriented? So there's like a reputation driven culture where everybody's careful about what they say or do.
As you know, Christina, reputation is not about what a CEO says or officially communicates. It's about consistently delivered in each email, each announcement, each official communication, for that matter, each communication that's delivered on our corporate LinkedIn post as well. So obviously, reputation is everybody's matter. And culture is more important than policies.
Absolutely.
So, Christina, reputation, according to me, is very important, right? It is everybody's business in the organization. It doesn't really have to be an important aspect of a CEO or a marketing head or an HR head. I think it needs to be ingrained into each and every individual right from the day one that an employee is onboarded into the company, right till the time he leaves the company. Reputation is something that he or she has to own. You have to be a brand representing yourself as well as the company. And certain things that needs to be consistently done over a period of time is how you drive that culture, how you transfer that culture to be a life document for each of the employee who serves that company, right? Be it an email sent, be it a call that he dials into, the framework of how you manage the corporate reputation is given, but how you infuse that into your daily operations, be it within the company or representing the company outside, it is an onus on each and every single employee, ensuring that reputation becomes the cornerstone of how you represent yourself and the brand.
And in fact, Srikanth, you were telling me the other day, I think last week we were discussing about how it is important that every culture, every leader, in fact, should actually walk the talk so that people are looking up to them and, looking at them as examples to kind of do this. And you also mentioned, I believe, you spoke about policies that the HR can build or brand guidelines, every small detail as to how reputation can be managed, reputation can be taken care of. I think that's what you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of companies over a period of its lifetime go through brand refresh like an exercise, right? Why does it matter? It's also for them to differentiate, not just in the marketplace, but also to make your employee, all other stakeholders feel really great about associating with the brand. In my case, it's so true that I joined Parexel for the brand that it is, right? For the reputation that it carries of creating a positive impact to a patient. And for that instance, all of us are patients at the end of the day. So it makes me really proud that you work for a company that creates that lasting impact, right? So I think it's everybody's business. Everybody owns it. Everybody has to ensure that the corporate reputation is intact and given utmost importance in your daily course of events that an employee goes through.
True that. I was just wondering now how important it is for you as a leader to have a really strong reputation and PR agency. Now, this is going to really show how he perceives us and the relationship with us, but that's the question to me. How important do you think this is?
Well, Christina, I think having a great PR partner in itself is a very, very strong thing to have, right? Having them onboarded not just as a vendor, but as a true partner who is 100% committed to the cause itself is really fantastic. And I'm really incredibly proud that you guys are our PR partners. You help us take the message at the right time. It helps us polish the message. It also keeps us at the front end of communicating what is essential to the end customer or the stakeholder for that matter.
Absolutely, Srikanth, and I can vouch for this. Srikanth, and in fact, the leadership team at Parexel does treat us as partners. So with that, Srikanth, let's give a tip to other agencies out there. So if there are people from PR agencies and reputation management consultancies listening to us, this tip is for you. Oh, and no, it's not to poach my client. It's for you to build a relationship with your clients. So here's my question, Srikanth. How can a client and the agency work smoothly and in unison? So what rules or guidelines would you like to set to establish a strong partnership through and right from the beginning?
Well, Christina, I think our relationship has been fantastic, but still, I think these are the three things which are really, really essential in a successful relationship. One is clarity. I think we need to really understand what success looks like. Credibility. We want to have that baseline of trust really coming out because I don't want you to come and tell me when things are going north. Keep me updated upfront. So credibility is really, really important. And the third most important part is trust.
And I think with trust, you mean, I know through and through of our journey of 4-5 years that we work together, you've always looked for honesty in me, in the team members, whether good or bad, and we navigate as partners, like you last said.
Absolutely, absolutely, and no doubts about it.
Now, Srikanth, coming back to your career, I mean, you've navigated several roles in different sectors, like as in you've mainly done marketing across sectors and communications in the last role.
Right.
What would you say is your one guiding principle that you follow through it?
Absolutely. I think just going back to, 15, 16 years back and where I started to where I'm today, I think I've worked across industry, and I think that comes with amazing set of experiences working in complex environment, complex products, services, and solutions. But one thing that really sticks out and something that I want to tell people is how easily you can simplify the complex. What I mean by simplify the complex is there's a lot of jargons, there's a lot of things which is very technical, and like I said earlier, a marketeer or a marketing role is industry agnostic. If you have to sustain, if you really have to be successful in this marketplace across any industry, any company, as soon as you join and how quickly you can translate those complex words, messagings that an SME would probably pour on you to make it more simple, bite-sized and subtle, that is really something that I would tell people to...
I think what Srikanth is saying is the world is already so complex. Keep it simple, guys.
Absolutely.
Now, Srikanth, looking at the current landscape, what is that non-traditional mindset that you need to build to survive and thrive in today's world?
I think one thing, Christina, that I would talk about is adaptability, right? The beginner's mindset is what I would probably call it. You be always hungry. Don't go into a room thinking that you know it all. Give room for learning. Always learning is something that is going to be fundamental. And as a marketer, as a storyteller, curiosity is something that you should have as your prime principle. Always curious to know, ask questions, learn more. That is the only way that you can adapt to any industry, any role within market.
And these were the exact words I used to describe you right at the beginning of this vidcast.
So should I be more humbled?
Well, that's who you are, and that's how I've read you.
Thanks, Christina.
So looking back, every one of us has some regret. So let me not use the word regret. Let me say, if there was one thing you'd wish you could change, or one thing you'd look back and say, oh, I wish I would do this better. What would that be that would help you in your career and it still helps you till date?
Absolutely. I think that's again another important question for the youngsters as well, is just going back to where I started. I would get into a room, into a conversation, just thinking that getting things done, doing it is all that matters. Having a little bit of expertise is all that matters. And you never really spent a lot of time listening, right? And that's something that sometimes is not going to put you in the good books as far as the work is concerned, right? And why I say active listening is so important today is just by listening, you would probably get certain nuances, certain ideas, certain ways of doing a particular thing in a very different way, right? And I would 100% tell any professional who is joining, be it healthcare communications or communication in general, keep an ear open, be open to ideas. And for that, I think active listening is so important. And that's one skill I probably picked up very late in my career, but that is definitely helping me today, grow and also create a point of view on the table.
I think that's something I could relate to as well. I think I've learned it over time.
Yeah.
Every person has some belief or certain assumption that they stick by through and through until something new comes and breaks that and challenges them or changes them. Could you describe that one new experience that has helped you break some belief or assumption that you've had for a long time in your life?
Okay. Well, Christina, I think that's a great question again. When you are young blood, early in your career, you get into a room, into a meeting, you work with your peers and colleagues, and you demonstrate a particular quality that you know it all, right? And I think pretty much everybody in the room is trying to do exact same thing. And I think early in your career, the concept of team player sometimes comes in pretty late, right? You always try to be that individual who wants to impress, who wants to do some great stuff. But you sometimes forget that people in the room, people who are working in your team across the profession, have certain skill set that they bring to the table. So it's not just you alone in the game. There is a bunch of people who come with different facets of contributing, which makes a successful team, a successful campaign, a successful communication message, or whatever it is. So it's good to take a pause and tell it aloud that I don't know. And sometimes it is very powerful, right? Being vulnerable sometimes is very credible. It is not you letting go, but also giving the other person a chance to better understand you, right? So that's something that over a period of time in my career, somewhere mid-path, I understood that you don't have to know it all, right? You don't have to conquer the world alone, right? You have many people who support you. For that matter, a PR partner is also somebody who does certain things that you're not really good at. So you have to come up and say that, look, I don't know what this means. It's always good to put it on table. And that's probably one of the assumptions that really broke me and helped me become a better professional, better human being.
Yes, absolutely. I think what Srikanth is telling all of us is we're not alone. Different expertise, different people can come together and ultimately collaborate to make success possible.
Absolutely.
So, several people watching this right now want to make their marketing and communications. To all those young people out there, what would be your words of wisdom to help them make that mark and build themselves in this space?
Well, Christina, let me try to keep this crisp. I'm no one to give expert advice, but then there are three things fundamental that I want people to really take home. One, in any profession, but more so in communications, I think master the concept. I think it's about breaking complex ideas into something simple and consumable.
Being thorough.
Absolutely. The second point is focus on the people. At the end of the day, you're dealing with a human at a human level. So that's very, very important. And the third most important is connecting the dots. In any industry, I think as long as you are a marketeer or a communication expert, it's important that you connect all the stakeholders within an organization, because sometimes all of these professionals work in silos. As quickly as possible, you can connect the dots so faster that you can take a message to market.
So Srikanth, this brings us to the last question for today. And please do listen to this one. What is the one book that you truly recommend to every professional that it must be definitely read? Please tell our audience.
Such a lovely question, Christina. I think thanks for asking. I get this question asked repeated times. I would definitely recommend The Brand New 50 by Tom Peters. It's an absolute read for youngsters, long back, even today. It is a book that gives you simple tricks to own your personal brand. It talks about reputation. It also helps you, be your authentic self. It's a great read, must read. Definitely Google it, or if you get a chance to, buy it, please go ahead and do that.
I think I'm also going to pick up a copy myself, because just to check whether I'm doing the right thing so far.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for the recommendation.
You wouldn't regret it.
Thank you. Thank you, Srikanth. It was amazing having you here. And there were a lot of insights through this conversation, and I hope the listeners enjoyed it too. Thank you for being with us here on CommsCast, the reputation podcast powered by Adfactors PR and Mediabrief.com.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, Christina. I think thanks for inviting me on this beautiful podcast. I've never done one in a long, long time, and I think I wish all the audience, listener, good luck. I think it's a great place to consume some great content. CommsCast is doing a fabulous job, and Christina, you and Adfactors PR, I think, are bringing out great product for people to collaborate. I think, log into the site. There are fantastic podcasts already recorded. And I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I was nervous. I'm still nervous. I think it's always good to be vulnerable. Keep that going. And I wish everybody listening into this podcast a very good luck and continue learning and continue being curious.
Wow, thank you so much for the kind words, Srikanth. It was absolutely lovely having you on this show.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Christina. It was lovely being with you.
So that was this episode of CommsCast, the Reputation podcast powered by Adfactors PR and Mediabrief.com. I really hope you enjoyed our discussion with Srikanth Ayyappan, Senior Director Marketing and Strategy at Parexel. Until we meet again, take care, stay safe.